attraction has been given to it all these years. It is there in every country of the world.
Former head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, calls for befitting structure for National Gallery of Arts. The Senate passes for second reading bill to amend Central Bank of Nigeria Act. President Bola Tinubu has launched the Expatriate Employment Levy (EEL), a new scheme targeting more employment opportunities for Nigerians and more revenue for the government. The president also unveiled the handbook for the scheme, which is under the Ministry of Interior. State House correspondent Musbah Dan Wahab reports.
The Expatriate Employment Levy (EEL), a scheme mandating employers who hire expatriate workers to make financial contribution to the nation, got the approval of the Federal Executive Council at the twilight of immediate past administration. But for the Renewed Hope administration, any stream of progressive initiative is welcomed and means to give new hope to Nigerians. The Interior Ministry has picked up the project, cleaned it up, and ready to make contributions to the administration's plan to generate job opportunities and revenue to finance growth and development of the country. In its core targets, the scheme is also to ensure knowledge and technology transfer from expatriate workers to Nigerians.
The main essence is to be sure that if you are bringing an expatriate to work in Nigeria, it should be a job that no Nigerian has the skill to do. Balancing of employment opportunities between Nigerians and expatriates. And of course, closing wage gaps between expatriates and the Nigerian labor force by making it more attractive to hire Nigerians.
Beside the revenue that will accrue, I believe the minister, having thought through this, will ensure that if somebody must remain in Nigeria for 10 years, he can't have any excuse not to be able to train a Nigerian to take over that job. Nigeria jobs for Nigeria, that should be the slogan.
President Bola Tinubu considers this scheme as another game changer from the stable of Ministry of Interior to renew the hope of Nigerians.
We are glad that good effort is being made to retool, re-engineer the finances of the country and make growth our hallmark. I've been further assured that the project has the capacity of plugging loopholes and gaps that have bedeviled the country in dealing with security challenges.
But the benefits notwithstanding, for the government still beckoning on foreign direct investments, this scheme must not come at a cross-purpose.
But don't use it as a bottleneck. Don't use it to frustrate potential investors. There must be a clear line of implementation and effective acceleration of aims and objectives of this program.
And the handbooks to guide this process are now ready with the Nigeria Immigration Service as the implementing agency.
Thank you.
From the State House, Musbah and Wahab, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Nigerian Labour Congress has suspended street action for the second day of its nationwide protests. This was after the union held an emergency NEC meeting which revealed the success of the first day. It described the protest as overwhelmingly successful, thus it attained the key objectives of the two-day protest on the first day. However, the NEC resolved to continue the protest today with simultaneous press conferences across all the states of the Federation by State Council capitals of the Congress, including the national headquarters. It also reaffirmed and extended the 7-day ultimatum by another 7 days, which now expires on the 13th of March, within which the government is expected to implement all the earlier agreements of the 2nd of October 2023 and other demands presented to the National Assembly during the nationwide strike, after which NEC will meet to decide its next line of action. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, says the federal government will exercise its rights within the country's laws to contain rogue actions that are designed to destabilize national security and the nation's hard-earned democracy. The minister debunked a news report of a coup scare in the country, stressing that it is false and a heinous act of disinformation. He urged the public to exercise discernment and refrain from spreading or amplifying the unfounded report, which has been strategically planted in some compromised news platforms to subvert the nation's democracy. Idris said the government will neither be distracted nor intimidated into abandoning the ongoing reforms aimed at rejuvenating the economy and creating a pathway of prosperity for the country. The former head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, has urged the government to erect a befitting structure for the National Gallery of Arts as part of strategies to position the industry to attract investors. This was at the 5th Stakeholders Forum of the National Gallery of Arts held in Abuja, which attracted arts scholars. Ekemini Williams has the report.
The National Gallery of Art, established in 1993, is the apex gallery that oversees the activities of all galleries in Nigeria. It serves as a center of visual art, education and culture. It essentially promotes modern Nigerian art. The 5th Stakeholders Forum of the National Gallery of Art focused on the theme Promoting and Preserving Nigerian Modern Art, Sustainable Strategies for Economic Growth and Empowering Visual Art for Flourishing GDP. Art scholars and enthusiasts who provided some insights into the issue spoke of the need to address what they described as a colonized school curriculum based on Western tapestry.
Part of the vein of education in Nigeria, much of Africa, is that education has not been based on the language of our own heritage, but on the language of European heritage.
They had some prescriptions on strategies for economic growth, such as formalizing art education in schools, developing human capital resource, de-emphasizing Western models of art in schools, and promoting what they described as heritage education.
You see some of these international artists, Picasso, Henry Moore, there are prints of their works all over the world, sold. And how did Henry Moore get to where he was? He was promoted by the British government and given that international breadth. So artists need to be promoted by instituting the endowment fund for arts.
Is it possible for the National Gallery of Art to influence the accommodation of heritage education in the education system so that we can de-emphasize Picasso and all the Western heroes and role models without becoming myopic?
Former Nigerian head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, who was at the event, urged the government to build a National Gallery of Art for the industry to grow.
No attention has been given to it all these years. It is there in every country of the world, and we haven't got it. So the most important thing that we have to do now is to establish this NGA, to really have a structure, a national building. If we do that, then the rest is done.
Dr. Obiageli Ezekwesili, former Minister of Education in Nigeria, who was represented by her senior special advisor, noted that art must grow beyond just aesthetics in order to flourish. In Abuja, Ekemini Williams, NTA News.
The Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank has further tightened its monetary policy rate by 400 basis points from 18.75% to 22.75% to continue to check inflation. At the first CBN MPC meeting for 2024, the CBN Governor Yemi Cardoso said after weighing macroeconomic conditions within and outside the country, it has become critical to increase the rate. The committee also increased the cash reserve ratio from 22.5% to 45%, the asymmetric corridor at plus 100 and minus 700, while the liquidity ratio is at 30%. Meanwhile, the Senate has passed for a second reading bill aimed to amend the Central Bank of Nigeria Act to make the Apex Bank accountable and efficient to maintain monetary and price stability for economic growth. Also passed for second reading was the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency Act Amendment Bill to strengthen the capacity of the agency at tackling the menace of drugs and narcotics abuse and trafficking. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports on these and other considerations during Tuesday's plenary.
The CBN Act Amendment Bill, sponsored by the Chairman and members of the Senate Committee on Banking, seeks fundamental changes to the Act. The amendments touch on CBN's role to stabilize the economy, puts limits on advancements to federal government, tenure of the governor and deputies, budget approval for the bank, and its authorized capital, among others.
The current Act made no provision for coordination of monetary and fiscal policies, which is the reason that monetary policies of the bank often diverge from fiscal policies to the detriment of the economy.
We expect a much more vibrant MPC because all the policy measures revolve around the MPC.
5 years will be sufficient for somebody to try his bit and leave for others to take over.
If there will be any need for the government to overdraw its account, and you say they should pay within 3 months, that will be too short.
The last time CBN Act was amended was 16 years ago. Bills to amend the NDLEA Act for improved funding, establishment of a drug testing laboratory, and putting in place stiffer penalties past second reading.
Enhance the power of the agency to prosecute drug-related offenses.
To make the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency not only to back, but bite.
We must take this bill very seriously, and we must strengthen the NDLEA in order to fight this proliferation of drugs in the system, to save the future of Nigerians.
Meanwhile, Senate has adopted a motion urging the federal government to introduce food stamps towards addressing food insecurity, as moved by Senate Chief Whip.
Clamor for wage increase and work support cannot alone guarantee a more effective way of addressing food insecurity without introduction of time-tested public assistance program.
If we find a foolproof arrangement to provide for the ordinary Nigerian, if the American government can do it, then we can also do it.
If we have a foolproof system to ensure that only those who need it get this food, it will be very helpful.
The motion from Senator Natasha Adwaga calling for investigation into Ajokuta Steel Company, a national iron ore mining company, was also supported.
Nigeria currently spends about $3.3 billion annually on steel imports, and quite saddened that the nation blessed with abundant natural ore resources, yet plagued with moribund Ajakuta and Delta Steel.
All we do is to pay salaries and wages of staff, supposedly staff of the Ajakuta Steel Mill, and billions of naira without producing not even one single iron.
Senator Muntari Nduze, in a matter of personal explanation, urges authorities to intensify efforts at securing lives in Katsina State, and a minute's silence was observed for those killed by bandits. Senate has confirmed the appointment of Hafsat Abubakar as Director, Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit. Presidents of the Senate brought to the notice of the lawmakers President Tinubu's request to confirm appointments of board members of Asset Management Company of Nigeria, AMCON, and also approve the removal of the Chief Executive of FCCPC, Babatunde Erukara, over inability to effectively discharge duties. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
A time for a break. We'll be back shortly. Federal Minister of Health and Social Welfare to urgently deploy its personnel to investigate the outbreak of a strange and yet to be identified disease that has killed about 30 persons in Nafada local government area of Gombe State. This is sequel to a motion moved by Representative Abdullahi El Rashid on the floor of the Green Chamber. National Assembly correspondent Mitaire Ben reports on plenary proceedings.
Madam Kumu, please.
Adopting a motion of urgent public importance, the House notes that the strange disease in Gombe State has proven to be beyond the expertise of the state health authorities. It warned that the disease could spread beyond Nafada to other neighboring communities and local government areas if not diagnosed and contained by the NCDC.
The symptoms of the disease start with severe headache, stomach pain, vomiting and very smelly stool. The disease can potentially halt businesses and school activities across the communities as parents are afraid of sending their children to school due to fear of contracting the disease.
This motion is referred to the Committee on Healthcare Services for further legislative action.
In another motion, the House asked the Nursing and Midwifery Council of Nigeria to suspend the implementation of its revised certificate verification guidelines for nurses and midwives. Lawmakers pointed out that the revised guidelines contain stringent requirements that are generating controversy.
The requirement for 2 years post-qualification experience before verification of certificate. Order, please. Order. Unreasonable, arbitrary and unfair, as it may, among other things, restrict the freedom of nurses seeking education or additional skills and training in foreign universities.
14 bills were read for the first time at Tuesday's plenary, including the Constitution Alteration Bill seeking creation of new states and reduction of local government areas in the country. From the National Assembly, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
President Bola Tinubu is urging energy experts converging on Abuja for the 7th edition of the Nigerian International Energy Summit to leverage the platform for robust engagements that will reposition the oil and gas. He stresses that decisions made by the summit will make or mar energy security for decades to come. Lydia Sampson reports.
Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, who stood in for the president, says the theme is apt and in line with the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Tinubu aimed at shaping the energy landscape towards greater profitability.
As we stand at the crossroads of the 21st century, it is imperative that we reevaluate our energy policies to ensure a sustainable and secure future. The decision to remove petroleum subsidy is a challenging one, but it's a step that we must all take to secure our energy future and foster economic growth and development.
OPEC Secretary General Haitham Al-Hayes revealed that OPEC anticipates a bright future for Africa's oil industry with substantial opportunities for growth.
Nigeria's role in OPEC's past and present is a tremendous source of pride. But we are also acutely conscious of Nigeria and Africa's critical role in the future of our organization and the energy industry more broadly.
For both the Ministers of State Resources, Oil and that of Gas, with their enormous potentials, it is time to walk the talk, making these visible potentials translate to wealth.
Nigeria suffers from energy poverty, despite the fact that we have abundance of oil and gas reserves. And I've always contended in anywhere I go that this abundance of reserves haven't translated to economic prosperity.
The gas industry, with abundant proven reserve of more than 208 trillion cubic feet, and further exploration potentials is crucial for enhancing energy security. With the proven reserves, Nigeria has no business with energy poverty.
Key industry players are optimistic that with commitment and collaboration, the vast opportunities in changing energy mix can be a win-win.
As we all know, and it's clearly so, there's a very clear connection between energy security and national security, anywhere in the world.
This gathering is on the page of proactively navigating the new energy world together towards realizing a sustainable energy security and energy mix that is just for all. In Abuja, Lydia Samson, NTA News.
The Commandant of the National Defense College, Abuja, Rear Admiral Olumuyiwa Morakeyo Lutu, is calling on Nigerians to support the federal government in finding lasting solutions to the challenges confronting the nation. This was at a civil-military cooperation media briefing on ending insecurity in Nigeria, tagged a collective responsibility of all citizens.
For anyone that is trying to find the members of conflict in this country, I would appeal to them to perhaps go to Kigali and listen to the people. Maybe you change your mind. Please, there is no other country that is as great as this nation of ours. And it is we Nigerians that will promote and make sure that we achieve our potential.
This call for collective responsibility is not about regime protection, but about the preservation of the soul of our dear country. These desperate times, therefore, require desperate measures, in quote, beginning with the need for all citizens, civil societies, armed forces, intelligence communities, and security agencies to cooperate, collaborate, collectively tackle the insecurity via a whole of society approach.
Wants religious and traditional leaders to use their platforms and mobilize for national solidarity and harmony for the sake of peace. Nigeria is collaborating with Interpol, ECOWAS, and the European Union in creating awareness on the use of the West African Police Information System among security agencies in combating all forms of crimes. Francis Form reports that the three-day event had participants drawn from all the law enforcement agencies in Nigeria.
Over 35, 75. It is the West African Information System engagement, and seated here are participants from the different law enforcement agencies. The objective is to improve the capacities to collect, process and analyze information and to share among national security bodies with other countries in the regions and the Interpol.
I also encourage us all as well to share useful information at your disposal on activities of criminals, so that together we can fight this scourge of cyber and cyber-enabled crime.
WIPES will help governments guarantee higher level of security for citizens. The WIPES program represents a beacon of hope in our ongoing struggle against organized crime.
Minister of Police Affairs in a message emphasizes the need for enhanced synergy between law enforcement agencies, governmental bodies, and international partners in addressing evolving security challenges.
As we look ahead, Nigeria remains steadfast in its commitment to the ideals of WAPIS and our collective mission to create a safer and more secure West Africa. Let us continue to work together to overcome the challenges that lie ahead and to build a greater and more secure future for our region and the world at large.
WAPIS program is funded by European Union and implemented by Interpol with the support of ECOWAS and 2 non-ECOWAS member countries. Francis Form, NTA News.
The Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Olukayode Ariwola, is advocating a synergy among the various arms of government for an efficient and effective justice delivery system. Justice Ariwola made the advocacy in Abuja at the opening of the 2024 hybrid refresher course for judicial officers of the Superior Courts in Nigeria. Judiciary correspondent Chukwunonso Nwabweze reports.
Converged here at the National Judicial Institute, Abuja, for the 2024 refresher course for judicial officers of the Superior Courts of Record are heads of courts of various jurisdictions across the country. They are here to brainstorm on ways of further enriching and strengthening of the nation's judicial system.
Thank you very much. Let's be seated, please.
The Chief Justice of Nigeria and Chairman of the Board of Governors of the Institute, Justice Olukayode Ariwola, uses the occasion to make a case for harmonious relationship among the various arms of government for effective justice delivery, as well as charges the participants to uphold the rule of law in performing their functions as judicial officers.
The need for judicial officers not to compromise or be distracted from the pursuit of the rule of law and their adjudicatory duties. Neither should you be engaged or be seen to be engaged in unethical conduct. I urge you all to remain focused and determined in carrying out your responsibilities as judicial officers.
It is my belief that the topical discussion that will take place in the course of this program will lead to cross-collaboration of ideas as well as a conclusion and the recommendation necessary for the overall growth and the advancement of the judiciary.
The 4-day course has reaffirming judicial commitments to justice delivery and modernizing judicial practices and procedures as its theme. Chukwunonsonwa Bueze, NTA News.
This is the news at 10 on NTA News 24. More reports shortly.